Okay.
What?
Hello, everyone.
Oh,
And what I want to walk you through is the EOC practice problem for Chapter 18, having to do with classifying costs as either product cost or period cost. Basically, you're going to start with identifying whether it's product cost or period cost, and then we're going to classify the product cost as being direct material, direct labor, factory overhead. Most people have a good handle on that one. And classifying period costs as selling or general and administrative expenses. So I've got over here a table that I've set up, and I'm covering the bottom part. But you'll see that it starts with having product cost here and period cost over here, and I've got this separated by a green line. So you're going to call it product cost or period cost to answer number 1, but then to answer number 2 and 3, you have to classify whether it's direct material, labor, overhead, or if it's selling or general administration. So the first item is going to be advertising expense. Advertising, of course, is going to be a period cost and is going to fall under selling. So you're going to actually put an X under period cost and under selling. You have to do both of them, okay? Next item, depreciation expense for office equipment. Now you have to understand there's a qualifier because you got two depreciation expenses here. One is for office equipment, one is selling equipment, one is factory equipment. So you're going to have to pay attention to the key words here to figure out how to classify this. So I'm going to start with the office equipment for depreciation, and that's going to fall under period cost as general administration. Let me flip this over here so I get a better lay of the paper. So you're going to have depreciation expense for office equipment, and then you have selling equipment depreciation, and that's going to fall under selling as a period cost. Now check this out. You got depreciation expense, which is factory equipment. Factory equipment implies right here that it's product cost. And as I said in my earlier video, you can have depreciation in the office and you can have it in the factory. It's one of those expenses that crosses borders because you're going to have it in both locations. Okay? Factory supervision, there's a key word, factory, so it's going to be a product cost and it's going to fall under overhead because it's not going to be direct labor. Your supervisor's not on the line. He's actually your indirect labor. Okay, he's walking up and down the line, checking to make sure there's no bottlenecks anywhere. Next one, factory supplies used. Again, the key word is factory, so it's a product cost. And it's going to fall under overhead because it's not specific direct material. It's just supplies that are used that you cannot tie directly to the product. Okay, so that's why it falls under overhead. Next, factory utilities. Again, that's a product cost because it's for the factory and it's an overhead. Direct labor, there's the key word right there. Direct labor is a product cost and is going to fall under the category for direct labor. Indirect labor, that obviously is going to be overhead because that's where indirect labor usually falls, and it's a product cost. Miscellaneous production costs, that's also going to be overhead. Okay? Office salaries is going to be a period cost, and that's going to be under general administration. Raw materials purchased is going to be production, and that's going to be direct material. Okay? So raw materials. Rent expense for office space, that's going to be under administration, okay, which is a period cost. Rent expense for selling space, same thing, but this time it's going to fall under selling, still a period cost. And again, here's our key word, rent expense, just like the other two before, but this is for the factory building. So you got to keep that straight. That's going to be under production cost and it's going to be an overhead item. Maintenance expense, factory equipment, bing, overhead, under production cost. Sales, you're not going to do anything with that. Why? Because sales is a revenue item. And we're dealing with cost items right now. So skip sales and go on to the next one. Sales salaries expense, well, that's a period cost, yes, because in salaries for the sales staff, so that's going to fall under selling. Okay? All right. So that's the whole deal with that first part of the problem. The next part of the problem, schedule a cost of goods manufactured and income statement. Okay, so use the data from the problem up above here and the inventory information down here to complete the requirements below. So I want to point something out with regard to the schedule called cost of goods manufactured. Okay, this is really made up of three principal areas. It's made up of direct material. I'm going to put it over here. Direct material, DM is direct material, direct labor, DL, direct labor, and overhead. That's all it is. It's reporting on the manufacturing costs involving direct material, direct labor, and overhead. Now, to get to the direct material, you're going to have to look here at the raw materials inventory, and you're going to have to incorporate what was bought for raw materials up here, okay, to figure this one out. So I'm going to start with direct materials. And we're going to start with the beginning inventory for direct materials. So beginning inventory for direct material. And in fact, not just direct material, but let me go get more specific here. Direct beginning inventory for raw materials, because we're going to be looking at the raw materials inventory in total. Okay, so beginning inventory for raw materials is right here, and it's going to be 166,850. And I'm going to add purchases of raw materials. So I add purchase. And we look over here, we have raw materials purchases right here, 925,000. So I'm going to add 925,000. Total that up, and this is going to be materials that are available for production. And that's going to be 1,091,850. Okay, so raw materials available for use. Raw materials available for use. But we're not going to use all of it, we're going to only use some of it, so I then had to come up with ending inventory here for raw material. So I had to back that out to figure out how much actually does go into production. So I look over here, raw materials, December 31st, 2015, that's my ending raw materials is 182. Subtract that, parentheses, and then that gives me 909,850. And this is direct materials used, okay, that went into production. Okay, this is this point right here, direct materials. This is direct materials, 909,850. So I did the first part. Okay, the next part, direct labor. And we have $1 amount for direct labor, and that's up here. We got direct labor right in this pot right here for $675,480. So I'm going to put that down. $675,480. Okay, so now I took care of direct labor. The next one's going to be busy, and that's going to be for overhead. And we got a bunch of stuff that are overhead. And it was evidenced by the fact that we've got, check this out, folks. Look at all these things that are overhead. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 items that are going to be classified as overhead. I only had one thing for direct materials, and I had one thing for direct labor, okay? But I did my direct materials here, and I got my direct labor here. Now I need to figure out overhead. So I got a slew of stuff that I got to do. In fact, I could even pull everything off of here and just put it over here and just list the direct materials accordingly. So let's do it. Let's just for the thrill of it. So I have depreciation expense. And I'm just going to shorthand this. Depreciation, factory supervision, and then factory supplies, utilities, indirect labor, miscellaneous production, rent expense, and miscellaneous, no, I'm sorry, maintenance expense. Okay, and we're going to find them over here. So my depreciation expense for factory equipment, $33,550, and I'm going to indent this. Factory supervision right here, 102,600. Supplies used, 7,350. Utilities, 33,000 even. Indirect labor, 56,875. What else? Miscellaneous production cost, 8,425. Rent for factory building, 76,800. And last but not least, maintenance expense, 35,400. All of that totals up, and so my overhead is going to be 354,000 even. Wow, we came up with an even number. What are the odds of that happening? Okay, so that's going to be total overhead. So here we have review again. Direct material, direct labor, overhead. These are the 3 items that I have to list. And all this gobbledygook looks intimidating, but God, if you break it down into simple stuff, all I have is material, labor, overhead. Boom, that's it. Okay? What's next? Oh yeah, I gotta figure out now what's in work in process, because to come up with the cost of manufacturing, the cost of goods manufactured, oop, there goes my alarm, hang on a sec.